We are back to wrap up our Sabres Super Draft, the final 5 rounds. Joe DiBiase, Lucas Buckley, and Joe Marino completing our teams. Coming up here, the Locked On Sabres and the Locked On, not the Locked On, but the Cautiously Optimistic podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Joe DiBiase back for another special edition of the show, a crossover with the Cautiously Optimistic podcast as we will finalize our Sabres Super Draft, the final 5 rounds of our drafts, starting at round 16. We will pick up where we left off. Before we do that, though, with Joe DiBiase, Lucas Buckley, and Joe Marino, we want to remind you of our sponsor, FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook. Football season is about to kick off. FanDuel's giving you a chance to win all season long. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you could get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl. You'll get bonus bets for every victory. You could use your bonus bets on the spreads, the player props, the over-unders, plenty more for football. You could bet on the Sabres to win the Stanley Cup or the Atlantic Division or the Eastern Conference if you want something a little bit more realistic. So if even that is. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. All right, without further ado, the continuation of our Sabres Super Draft, the final 5 rounds of our draft. All right, so next up on our Sabres Super Draft, Joe DiBiase, Joe Marino, Lucas Buckley. Joe's next up for his round 16 pick. Back-to-back here.
All right, with my back-to-back picks, I'm going to pick my last 2 defensemen, Henrik Tallinder and Jocelyn Guvermont.
Okay. Yeah.
Not a lot of right-handed defensemen in Sabres history, so I'm going to pick him.
Yep.
And Tallinder, good thing about Henrik Tallinder, I mean, I've got Owen Power with Tyler Myers right now, but Tallinder was the guy who helped Tyler Myers through his rookie year. So if Lindy decides to shake the lines up a little bit, Tallinder can play with Tyler Myers as well. So some versatility.
Yeah. Pronunciation on, is it Guvermont? Like, that one's always trips me up because the French Canadian. It's the most French Canadian name I've ever seen in my life.
My grandpa always says Guvermont, so
Guvermont.
That's how I say it.
We'll ride with that. He had 157 points in a 4-year stretch for the Sabres on the blue line. Like that again. Like the Sabres don't have the most storied history among defensemen. Like that's up there. That's up there for a 4-year stretch in the late 70s for the Sabres. All right, Tallinder. Jeremy White, my morning show co-host on WGR in the mornings, he is adamant. We talked about this recently, I think. He is adamant that Tallinder was not only the best defenseman on the 05-06 Sabres, he was a top 5 defenseman in the league that year.
Wow, he was awesome.
Like, we didn't really have the analytics sites back then or like these numbers. But if you retroactively go back to that season, like Tallinder's advanced numbers are on an elite level that season. So there's an analytic argument that he is a top level defenseman that just maybe wasn't appreciated that way. All right, Joe, 2 picks are gone, which means Luke's back up for his round 16 pick.
All right, round 16. I'm kind of tempted to round out my defense too. Let's go. I'm gonna have half of that 05-06 D-core. Let's go, Tony Ludman.
Oh, I'm kind of disappointed that Tallinder and Ludman didn't end up together.
I know.
It's one of the all-time Sabre couples.
One of the great Scandinavian duos.
Yeah,
in Sabres history.
Tony Ludman. What do we think of as like his style? Or was he just kind of like kind of did a little of everything?
Yeah, all-around defenseman.
Yeah, he did have that. What game is it? I'm glad I don't remember the series this well because it will make me cry, but Ludman in one of the Carolina games had like a breakaway goal out of the penalty box.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and it was like a great deke. Like, Tony Ludman, like, never deked in his life. He goes in alone on Cam Ward, and he goes backhand, forehand, backhand, and, like, puts it roof. I'm like, I watched the highlight back. Like, what? Where was that for 5 years for this guy?
Was that a road game?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back and watch. I don't remember.
Oh, man, okay.
It might have been. It might have been a road game. All right, Tony Ludman for Luke. And am I missing one? Is that your entire defense group?
That's my defense right there.
Who am I missing here? Schmelik.
Yes,
Get it right down to Schmelik for you. Okay, so there goes Tony Ludman. Still need a coach. Still need a backup goalie, but I don't plan on playing a backup goalie very often, so I don't need that. I need a defenseman. And I need a defenseman that can play with Spacek. I almost want, like, there's probably a wrong way of doing it. There's a guy I want to pick, but, like, I have so many players on the 05-06 and the 06-07 teams that I almost don't want to pick him just because I don't want to feel like that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's the best player on the board. All right, I'm not going to do it because there's another guy that I think is a little underappreciated as a Sabre. I don't remember him playing, but I know the numbers are good for him. And, you know, you hear things about how good the player was. In not a very long Sabre career, but a 3-year career where he had 2-year Sabre career. He only played 14 games the first year. In parts of 3 seasons, 102 points in 163 games. That's above 45-point pace. Wow. I'm picking Gary Galley. As my third pair defenseman. Way more remembered for other teams, right? Like, he played 6 years with the Kings, 4 years with the Bruins, 4 years with the Flyers, a couple years with the Capitals and the Islanders. It's only 163 games with the Sabres, but he was good when he was on the Sabres. So I'm going to pick Gary Galley, who, by the way, made an all-star team in 97, according to Hockey Reference. So Gary Galley is my final defenseman.
He's an analyst now, I think, for TSN or Sportsnet.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think
Still
I knew
on
that
TV.
He's also French-Canadian.
Really?
Right. Yeah, very French. You have Jacqueline Guevremont. Like, I'm going to try to throw some accent on that. You got him, and then Gary Galley.
And Rick
Very
Martin.
different sounding.
Rick Martin. Like,
Rick Martin.
Least French name.
Sometimes they just don't care, I guess.
Yeah, I can't resist throwing this out there. Maybe some of your listeners will know what I'm talking about. But Gary Galley, I think, was also involved in a really strange goal in, like, 97, where the puck got lost in his skates. Steve Shields might have been the goalie, but, like, neither of them could find the puck in the crease, and it just went into the net. So look it up. You could probably find it somewhere. It's really
definitely going to try to. I'm going to try to find this later.
Yeah. Okay, I think it was Gary Galley. All right, I'm up. Right?
Do I have one more pick? I do have one more pick.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah.
One more pick, and I am. Do I dare pick? Didn't Connolly and Roy hate each other?
Did they?
Did I not
get all the drama on your team?
I have Eichel and O'Reilly on one. I might as well just let the locker room just eat itself alive.
Why would they hate each other?
I don't know. I feel like you hear things.
Oh,
maybe
man.
I'm wrong on that. That's because it's so far back. All right. I'll go with... All right. I'm going to pick one of my favorite individuals in Sabre history. I don't remember him as a player, but I remember him as a broadcaster. And I love this man. I loved him growing up. His voice gives me chills. And he was a good Sabre. How about 331 points in 487 games, 4 20-goal seasons in a 5-year stretch, 62 points, 54 points, 70 points, 56 points. Hey, the Batman, Jim Lorenz, was actually a pretty good player. And, again, like, just kind of reading up on him, like, a very good two-way player as well. He has actually some Stanley Cup experience. I never knew that. He won it with the Bruins. Yeah, he one-time Cup champion on Hockey Reference. The Batman. I love Jim Lorenz. I want to listen to him also do my games. Can he somehow do color commentary from the bench? I'd love that. But I'm going to plug him in on my fourth line with Tim Connolly. Love Jim Lorenz. He was a good player for the Sabres in the 70s, and I'm glad to have him.
He was the perfect color commentator. Love Jim Lorenz.
Perfect.
Oh, you know what? Let's add some more grit to our fourth line. We're going to go with the most iconic gritty forward of them all, Razor, Rob Ray.
Knew that was coming eventually.
We're doing it.
Who is he going to fight?
I don't know. Somebody. He's going to do something.
The answer is my best player, probably.
Yeah.
He's going to be a hired gun. Wow.
I can't resist the urge.
Rob Ray. He's going to play with Stu Barnes on the fourth line.
He's going to be a Stu Barnes. So, maybe I'm not getting the most value out of Barnes I can get.
I like it. Lucas is just going for votes. He just wants people to vote for him.
Yeah,
he's sucking up to the listeners. maybe what you want to do.
Listen, Joe has owned me in the draft.
Every time.
Every time he wins overwhelmingly.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Joe, he's next up for round 18 and 19. Joe, why don't you make your round 18 pick? I got a live spot to do, and then we'll finish up the final 2 rounds.
Okay, I'm gonna go for kind of off the board here, but if we go to a shootout, we're winning because we have Al Kodalik on our team.
I wanted him.
So he's
How
gonna
was
be
he
in my
not
fourth
drafted?
line right wing.
Oh,
Elko.
yeah, the best shootout man in Sabre history, Al Kodalik. If you want to put him on the point of your power play too, he's got a massive slap shot. Not that you're missing scoring, but you could do that with Kodalik as well. So love Al Kodalik. All right, Al Kodalik will finish up with the final 2 rounds of our draft coming up in a matter of moments. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we are presented here on the Locked On Sabres podcast by FanDuel Sportsbook. Football season's about to kick off. FanDuel's giving you the chance to win all season long because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. So you have a rooting interest in that team all year. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl. You'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders. If you want to bet the Sabres to win the Atlantic Division, for instance, it's a bit of a long shot bet, right? But hey, big payout if you're right about it. You can bet the Sabres over/under, by the way, for their point total this year. That's not out yet, but keep an eye on it. I want to guess it's somewhere in the high 80s. It should be a pretty high number. But you can use your bonus bets on anything hockey, football, baseball, basketball, or in the Women's World Cup. You can do soccer as well. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Back here on the Locked On Sabres and the Cautiously Optimistic podcast, Joe DiBiase, Joe Marino, Lucas Buckley. You can follow them on Twitter. Luke's at LVKETCB on Twitter, at LukeTCB with the V instead of a U. And then Joe is at Joe Marino TCB on Twitter. All right, let's roll along with the final 2 rounds of our draft. Quick update on the teams. Joe's up next. He is at Pierre Turgeon, Danny Gare, Alexander McGillney, Dale Howardchuk, Mike Foligno, Jeff Skinner, Michael Pekka, Alex Tuck, Craig Ramsey, Al Kodalik on line 4. Did I miss someone on line 4 for you? I forgot to write somebody down.
Not yet, but
not yet.
He's my next pick.
All right, who is it?
A former Sabres broadcaster, legendary goal, Brad May.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Brad May. That's who Rob's going to fight.
Yes. He has a dance partner now.
I think, too, I'll bring up his stats. May had better offensive numbers than I think you think.
If I recall, Brad May was a first-round pick.
He is
Pretty
69th in points for the Sabres all time.
He was in the Phil Housley trade. He was the first-round pick involved in that trade. They swapped picks. I believe the Jets took Keith Tkachuk with the pick swap.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've heard complaints about that in the past. In 6 full seasons for the Sabres, actually, you can't even say that. He played 4 full years for the Sabres. He scored double-digit goals every time.
Solid.
Every time. 18 goals. He had 45 points in 94. He had 44 points in 96. Again, we're not talking crazy offensive production, but he could go out there and he could put the puck in the net if he needed him to. All right. Brad May is the first pick of round 19. Final 2 rounds of our Sabres Super Draft. Luke, you're up for your second to last pick.
Second to last pick. I'm gonna take a backup goalie here. We're gonna go with Dwayne Rolison. Big Dwayne Rolison fan right here.
Dwayne Rolison. By the way, sorry, we added coach, so
yes,
we have 21 rounds, not 20 rounds. Rolison, though, he is a very often puck doku answer for me.
Yes,
because
he's
of how
been
many different teams he played
everywhere, and he played forever.
He played till 2012.
Yes, he was the
started
Lightning.
40 games.
Yeah, goalie for the Lightning. He played for so many Cinderella teams: 03 Wild, the 06 Oilers, and the 2011 Lightning,
and the 99 Sabres. I know he's not. Mm-hmm. Does he play in the playoffs that year for the Sabres?
He might have played 1 game, I think.
He started 2, played 4. numbers weren't great, but they got a win. So there's at least one playoff win that helped them along. All right, Dwayne Rolison is the backup goalie of choice for Luke. I want to fill out my skaters before I get to backup goalie and I get to coach. And I got to get another forward to go with Tim Connolly and Jim Lorenz. And who do I want that to be? I mean, I could go all the way villain and be the Sam Reinhart guy. I also there's certain players here that I feel like deserve to be picked. Like, I kind of want Tyler Ennis to be picked. Maybe he will. I don't know if I want to do that, though. How does Tyler Ennis fit on a line with Tim Connolly and Jim Lorenz? Like, I don't know.
There is one defenseman that I'm really surprised hasn't been picked yet. Doug Bodger. One of the highest scoring defensemen in Sabres history.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Has Zhitnik been picked yet either?
Yes.
Zhitnik got picked.
Okay.
Zhitnik got picked. I mean, like, Ray Shepard had a great couple seasons for the Sabres. Derek Plant has one of the famous goals in Sabre history. He had a good long career. Andre Savard and Christian Rutu. Like, there are guys from the 80s. The 80s, like, are so unknown for the Sabres that, like, nobody knows who was good. But, like, Andre Savard, for instance, that guy scored 30 goals for the Sabres. Like, he's on the board still. But this is a show that I want to win a poll for and win a simulation too. And I just mentioned, like, Andre Savard, there's a 30-goal scorer left on the board from the 80s. Why don't I just pick a 30-goal scorer that scored 30 goals for the Sabres last season? I'll draft Dylan Cousins.
All right.
I'll draft Dylan Cousins.
Solid
Joe's
pick.
wearing a Cousins jersey right now, so I almost feel guilty doing it. Especially since I'm not. I mean, maybe I'll put him at center and move Connolly to the wing or something. If you can't tell, I think centers can kind of move all over the place. I'm going to pick Cousins because I think he's the best player left on the board. I think he's a great player. He's fast. He's defensive. He's a great goal scorer, and he's a great playmaker as well. So, Cousins. And then for my final pick, I need a coach. I kind of want to pick Renato. Honestly, I don't know if he fits the team I built, though. Like, I kind of picked a defensive team. You know, Korab and Schoenfeld and Ramsey and Drury.
Sounds like Ralph Kruger is your coach.
Get out of here with that. Can I remove Joe from the show? And
Kick him
from
the room.
Kick him out. I can't. Kruger. All right, he's second all time in wins. He's the greatest coach of all time. Not for necessarily what he did with the Sabres, but he did do good things for the Sabres. I'll pick Scotty Bowman. Right, like Scotty Bowman. Sure, but can't do much worse than that. During his time with the Sabres, he actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He was 8 years. He was here from 1979 to 1987. That's a long time, and he had almost a 600 win percentage while he was here. 210, 134, and 60. They definitely didn't have the playoff success that I'm sure they would have hoped under him. But he's a legend. So I don't want to pick Kruger. I don't want to pick Housley. I don't want to pick Gardner Gloves, Rolston, so I'll take Scotty Bowman.
Funny Scotty Bowman story. I actually saw him in the Harbor Center bathroom for one of the Sabres Prospect Challenge games, and he did not wash his hands after going pee.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa! Dropping bombs on the show about Scotty Bowman. Holy cow. Okay. Well,
also another
I'm still
Bowman story. Stan Bowman hit on my aunt at the Galleria Mall once upon a time.
Oh my god! Throwing shade. Everyone's
All
catching
right.
strays.
Luke is up for his second to last pick.
All right. You know, you said he should be drafted, and I agree with this. And I'm going to do some line juggling here. We're going with Tyler Ennis, and I'm going to put him on a line with Tate Thompson and
Luke is feeding
Donald
to the
Beck.
crowd here.
Oh,
Hey,
okay. So you're going to put Dumont. Dumont's going on line 4.
Dumont's going on line 4. I could also see Ennis or Audette really going up to the second line too, playing with Briere and Shatan.
Yeah, you
Lots
got
of
options.
versatility there. Yeah.
Briere, Hesh, and Dumont did play together a lot in 05-06, but that might be tough because then you got to move Shatan out of your top 6. And I don't think
That's right.
All right. Tyler Ennis. No, never mind. Myers, not Ennis. I was going to say Ennis is the last Sabre that played a playoff game left in the league, but he's not in the league.
Wow.
At Myers is.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So we go to Joe for his final 2 selections. And you need what? You need a center and a goalie.
Yeah.
A goalie.
All right. My backup goalie, I'm going to go with Marty Baron.
Okay.
So I've got the current partner for Brian Duff and the former partner for Brian Duff, Brad May and Marty Baron on the same team. And then for my 4th line center, I'm going to pick Paul Gaustad.
Okay.
The Goose.
The Goose is loose.
So I'm very happy with this team. Very happy.
So Joe's team, we'll go through it once we wrap up here. We got 2 more picks to go through. Luke, you've got...
I have a coach.
What do you need? You need a coach? Who are you gonna
And I have him. He coaches the hardest working team in hockey. We're going Big Teddy Nolan.
pick? Look at this team. Rob Ray and Ted Nolan.
It's a greatest hits collection.
Yeah. I like it. Ted Nolan as the coach. Yeah, what am I saying? I don't like it. Granado. How does Granado not get picked? Come on. Granado might not fit your team perfectly. Although,
Right.
hardest working team in hockey. What's Ted Nolan going to do with the French Connection? He's going to have them like back checking.
He can, we'll let the assistants handle that.
Gilbert Perreault with Don Granado would be amazing.
Yeah.
That's okay, though. That's okay. All right, Ted Nolan.
He would have won the
hardest-
fan vote if he had Don Granado. But
Hey, people like
I'm
Ted
not going to
Nolan.
complain.
People like Ted Nolan. Don't discount the Nolan stands out there. They finally stopped calling the radio station asking for him to get rehired. All right. So what do I need? I need a 4th line. I need a backup goaltender. I need a backup goaltender for my my last pick. All right. So I am going to go. Who are my options? Marty's been picked. I've got Don Edwards. I've got Darren Pupa. I've got Steve Shields, Grant Fuhrer, Robin Leonard. I've got Linus Olmark.
Davin Levi.
Levi. Euro Halak is an option potentially. No. I'm not sure he qualifies. He never played for the team.
One of the all-time great goalie teams, in my opinion.
Part of me wants to pick Leonard, just be the jerk. I could pick Miller's friends. Miller loved having, that's why you like the Leam, right? He wanted one of his buddies on the team. All right, I'm going to pick... I'll pick Don Edwards. I'll pick Don.
Okay.
I want to give some love to the old guard again. I think these guys deserve to be picked. And we're young guys, so it's not always going to happen naturally when we didn't see them play. But if you look back at the numbers that Don Edwards had in the 70s and 80s, no goalie who had save percentages above 900. In 896 in that era, it was perfectly fine. It was good even.
Yeah.
He wasn't a star goalie, but looking at, I had it pulled up earlier when I was looking at him. If you look at Don Edwards between the year 1976 and 1982, his save percentage and where it ranked in the NHL, he was, as you can tell, I'm almost there. He was tied for first in the NHL in wins. Wow. So there's that. And he was, where is the save percentage? I know I had it. Here we go. All right. Save percentage, Don Edwards in that time span, he was 8th. He was a good goaltender for his era. So he'll be my backup. He's not going to play anyway because Ryan Miller's going to play. So Don Edwards is the Mr. Irrelevant of our draft here. All right. That is our draft. So a quick recap before we run out of here. Joe's team, Turgeon, Gare, McGillney on the first line, Howardchuk, Foligno, and Skinner, Pekka, Ramsey, and Tuck, Gaustad, May, and Kodalik, with the defense grouping of Housley, Van Boxmeer, Owen Power, Tyler Myers, Tallinder, and Guevermont. So and then Hasek and Baran in net. So I'll ask you, Luke, to judge his team. How do you think Joe's team looks?
Loving the goalies. Oh man, Jeff Skinner, great pick. I think loving the Pekka pick as well. Got the Selke winner there. I'm a fan. Got some good size on this team. And McGillney, biggest snub year after year.
This feels like it could be a real team.
It
in
does.
theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to build a realistic looking team. I tried to get some plumbers on there on the fourth line. So
Some lunch pail guys.
yeah, exactly.
You did the well balancedness of the team itself. I mean the center depth 1 through 3, and Housley at the top of the defense group. I really wanted to leave this draft with Housley, but I did not. Luke's team, the French Connection up top, unbelievable. Briere, Hesh, and Chatan on line 2. Tage, Audette, and Ennis on line 3. And then Barnes, Dumont, and Ray on line 4. Got to get that toughness. Campbell and Zhitnik, Woolley and McKee, Schmelik and Ludman, with Barrasso and Rollison in goal. Joe, I'll start with you. Luke's team. What do we think? Ray on the fourth line is interesting. I mean, there's a lot of interesting picks, I think.
I think it's very top heavy.
Okay.
Very top heavy with the French Connection, but it's okay to be top heavy. When you got the French Connection on your team, you're going to get votes. You're probably going to get some wins in the NHL 23 sim too. So I think it's a solid team.
If I were
not
to
as good as mine, but
Oh, thanks for reciprocating the love.
I think I might. The reason I might like top heavy too is no one's competing with the French Connection in terms of the line. I don't think. And then Briere and Chatan in line 2. Like I think it is solid. I love the top pair. My only thing is I think your second and third pair defensemen can't skate. I think they're gonna have. I think they're gonna have trouble.
Okay.
Well, maybe Woolley and Ludman aren't that slow. I should give them more credit. McKee and Schmelik are like. I feel like they're gonna have a tough time catching McGillney.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know what? I have a new favorite Joe. I know which Joe I'd take in the Joe draft.
Wait. He was the one who called you top heavy. I'm just kidding. All right, and then my team, LaFontaine, Andrewchuk, and Vanek up top. Drury, Pominville, Finneganov on the second pair, or second line. Eichel, Ryan O'Reilly, and Don Luce. Don Luce has no idea what he just walked into for that line. Tim Connolly, Dylan Cousins, and Jim Lorenz on line 4. Darlene and Mike Ramsey, Jerry Korab and Jim Schoenfeld, Gary Galley and Jaroslav Spacek, Ryan Miller, and Don Edwards are the defensemen. Any thoughts on Team Sneaky over here?
I think you lost the fan. Sorry, Luke. I think you lost the fan vote with picking Eichel. That was my hang up. I think if you pick Eichel, you lose the fan vote.
And then doubling down with O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah. It's like antagonizing. But hey, you have the Spacho, man. So round of applause for that. And I think the aesthetic of your team is really good. You have a lot of the prime uniform era guys.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of
Gary Galleys, the Chris Drury's. So I'm a big fan of that. And Darlene, I think, smart pick as well.
All right, that was fun. What can we draft next? We can draft more stuff.
We thought of doing an animal draft for a while now.
Oh, love that idea.
Animals.
Draft a hockey team of animals.
A hockey team of animals.
Honey bat. Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So, who would you have in goal? I don't know. What would you have? I think
gorilla.
A gorilla would have to play goal.
Or a panda bear.
Yeah,
panda's good too.
They sit there.
I feel like I want. Don't I want like a massive crab or something?
Yeah,
like I just got them flashing the blockers, flashing the glove for something.
I was thinking elephant, but
elephant.
There's like a gap with their legs.
Yeah,
shoot right under them.
Right, yeah, the 5-hole. Yeah. The crab's already got the form. I think that's why I'm doing that. He's
that's
already
right.
got the
they're naturally shaped like that.
But I gotta find a big one because if this little dinky.
It's like Did you guys ever play 3-on-3 NHL Arcade?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's like when you would get the power up of the tiny goalie. That's what I think if you had a crab in that.
Yeah. Yep. All right, gentlemen. Thank you for doing this. I thought it was super fun, and
thank you for having us.
Drafting.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the Cautiously Optimistic podcast as the season approaches with training camp, about a month away. Preseason a little bit after that. You can check it out wherever you're listening to this podcast. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check it out. Plus, we will I don't know what we're going to do next, actually. We went through all our divisions, so I don't know what's next here on Locked On Sabres. Hopefully a Darlene contract recap or something. Where the heck is that thing? But we'll have a plan for you. We'll start rolling through maybe some other teams in the Eastern Conference as we already went through the Atlantic Division team by team. So until next time, thanks everybody for listening. Check us out on Twitter. I'm at Sneaky Joe Sports. Joe's at Joe Marino TCB, and Luke is at Luke TCB with the V in for the U. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to you next time here on Locked On Sabres and on Cautiously Optimistic.